one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being live streamed by Chelmsford Telemedia and posted to the Chelmsford Public Schools website for interested community members to access and watch. In-person public participation will be taking place tonight in accordance with the Chelmsford School Committee Public Participation Guidelines. Anyone speaking tonight during the public input portion of this meeting has notified the superintendent's office of their desire to speak and has been provided with these guidelines. Upon request, written comments received no later than 12 p.m. on the day of this meeting will also be read and made part of the record of the meeting during the second public input session. Are there any members of the press present and that are planning on recording? Oh, okay. Welcome to this meeting of the Chelmsford School Committee. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes from our meeting on September 7th, 2022.
I move that we approve the minutes from September 7th, 2022.
Second, threw me off. Second? No, I'm sure. That was not a question.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments or corrections?
John, I don't think you were here for that meeting.
Oh, never mind. I didn't second. That was a joke.
Second.
Okay. All right, so we'll make that correction.
No, it's in there.
It's, okay, thank you.
Minutes, yeah.
All right. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
Okay, 4-1. All right, next up, welcome to our Chelmsford High School student representatives. It's great to have you both here tonight. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves and then maybe giving us an update on things happening.
Hi, I'm Lana Frazier, and thank you for having me here.
Hello, my name is Kayo Upadhyay, and I'm a junior at CHS, and I'm really excited to be here today.
All right, and do you have some good news for us or any updates? or-
Yeah, so actually the Ecology Club at CHS just started its first week of the composting program. So students during their lunch have the option of, there's a special bin set aside for compostables, and their goal is to reduce the waste in landfills from CHS. So it's going pretty great so far. And so, as you might know, the Spanish exchange students have been at CHS for a few weeks, and they're actually leaving today. So we hope that they have a great journey home. And the CHS Theater Guild is performing Legally Blonde, and they've been practicing really hard, so we can't wait for when that show premieres.
We have a couple important incoming dates. So the registration for the dual enrollment is due on the 23rd this month. The high school's open house is on the 28th from 6 to 8:30, and SATs are on October 1st. And our picture day has been moved to October 17th.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for our student reps?
So you're a junior, you're a
I'm a sophomore.
sophomore? Good.
All right. How was the school year started? How'd it go?
Pretty good.
Pretty smooth?
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'm happy to be back.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome aboard.
All right, Dr. Hirsch, any good news?
Well, I don't have a microphone, so I can't talk. I'm sure everybody can hear me. No, there's no additional good news, but just to piggyback on the student reps, you don't have to be sad about our Spanish exchange students leaving, because on October 14th, our French exchange students will be coming to CHS. So you'll be hearing a little bit about, their experiences, and we're putting together just some information of the previous trip right now to share with everybody in the newsletter. So we're looking forward to that group coming along.
We actually had the opportunity to attend the dinner for the Spanish exchange students, which was lovely, and thank you very much to Jessica Nolet, I was gonna say the department chairperson, for organizing that. It seemed like everybody had a really good time.
You did. That was very nice.
All right, we are now to the first public input session. Do we have any registered speakers tonight?
We don't.
Okay. All right, moving on to new business.
Great. We have two members of our Chelmsford High School Alumni Association here this evening, George Simonian and Terry McSheehy. And they're here to share a little bit of good news about the upcoming induction into the Hall of Fame. So I'll turn it over to George and Terry. Thank you guys very much for being here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. The Chelmsford High School Alumni Association proudly announces its 31st Annual Hall of Fame induction. The ceremony will take place on the evening of the 15th of October, 2022, at the UMass Lowell Conference Center in Lowell. The program will include a social at 5:45, dinner at 6:30, and the induction at 7 p.m. Those being inducted are as follows: Rachel G. Fairbanks Adaran, class of 2010. Kenneth Chuchin, class of 1975. Mark Dearborn, class of 1986, posthumously. Thomas Gill, class of 1971. Daniel Hart, class of 1999. Michael McClarney, class of 1973. Timothy McMaster, class of 1994. Dina Petsarakis Ronayne, class of 2001. And John Souza Jr., class of 1984. Tickets are available at $60 per person, which includes the entire evening, the reception, the dinner, and the induction ceremony. You can either contact me or Terry, the association president. Excuse me. Questions?
George, do you mind just giving the date of the event one more time?
October 15th.
Okay.
It's a Saturday night
Saturday, October 15th, and it's
Right.
going to be at the
at
UMass
the UMass
Yes, in a conference
Conference
center.
Center.
in Lowell.
Great.
I think it's Hurd Street.
What's that?
I think it's Hurd Street, if I remember right.
Hurd Street.
Yes, it's right across from the courthouse.
Yeah, right, the old Doubletree, yeah.
Mr. Simone, how should people get in touch with you? What's the best way?
978-256-3100. I'm in the book.
For him and for me, 978-251-3788.
Okay, terrific. Thank you so much.
Well, any other questions?
Super. No, we look forward to coming. It's nice to have everyone back in person again.
Yes, it is.
I recognize a few of the recipients this year, so it'll be nice to see them.
It sure will be. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for coming and sharing
Mr.
that
Simone
information.
and Mr.
Thank you, guys.
McSheehy, thank you so much for everything you do on behalf of the Alumni Association.
Thank you.
Both have been involved for a very long time, and your efforts are greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This will be my last meeting. I am stepping down as president.
Well,
After 22 years as president.
22 years, I think, is long
Alumni
enough.
Association.
Me and Edie Amin.
Terry and I have grown old together.
Yes, we have, Jeff.
well, it's a very vibrant, well-respected organization, and largely due to both of your efforts, so thank you.
And it will continue to be.
Yes, and one of the keystones really is our scholarship program.
Yes,
That's what I'm really proud of.
Yes.
Our scholarship program.
absolutely, it's
And it
benefited
keeps,
many
it keeps
students.
growing, and it keeps growing.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
Good to see you.
Give me a second.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Jeff coming back? I think he's just helping them out.
No, he is. I'm just trying to get the presentation to come up.
Is Tess with us tonight?
Remotely.
Okay, great.
Oh, it's on local presentation.
Just so viewers know, we're just trying to get this set up.
Always that curious use of technology.
Yep.
We're getting closer.
We have the lion now.
Okay.
Just gonna make sure we can hear everybody. And I think you have to mute.
Tess, can you hear me? Okay. I'm just going to introduce, and then I'll turn it over to you in 1 second. So our next agenda item of the evening is Tess is here from District Management Group, and a lot of people may recognize her from some of the work that we've been doing last year with regard to putting a strategic plan for the district together. We've signed on with District Management Group for another year, and we're kind of moving into the implementation phase of taking the different priority areas that we've identified as our focus and really aligning the different initiatives that take place within the district to those priority areas, identifying any gaps that may exist to talk about some additional programming and services we need to put in line. But one of the areas that we had talked about towards the end of the school year, going into the summer, was around special education services. And that actually was a topic that came up within our academic programming and also our equity work with regard to trying to close the achievement gap between special education and L and a number of other students and our general education students and their performance. So in talking to Tess and the group, aside from the work that we're going to be doing on the implementation this coming year, DM Group actually does what they call a Special Education Opportunities Review. And when I had a meeting with them to learn a little bit about what it involves, I really think it actually would be well aligned to support the work in the strategic plan. So we have Tess here tonight to review the presentation with us. I have a bad habit of usually reviewing half of what people want to say, and then they start. So I'm going to just turn it over to Tess and ask and allow her to share the presentation with us tonight. So she's on screen, and she'll be walking us through the PowerPoint that I had emailed out as part of the packet. So Tess, will you just say a couple of words so I can see if I can hear you? Okay, not quite yet. Yeah, Tess, I can see you, but I can't hear you. Just give me 1 second. It's good that you can hear me. That's half the battle.
I'm good, thank you.
Dennis, that's not necessary.
Maybe our student reps could help.
I know. Hang on 1 sec, Tess. For whatever reason, when I muted myself, I think I might have done something to shut her off.
It's okay. Hi, Tess. So,
Oh, school committee.
yep, I didn't want to like start working. Okay, Tess, can you talk now? See if we can hear you?
Yeah,
We can hear you and then
That's great.
some, okay?
Alright.
That's us, it's on us. Thank you.
I'll listen. Jay, can everyone see me and will they be able to see my screen?
Yep, in 1 second.
Great.
No, it's not. All right, go ahead, Tess.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can, we're gonna hear you and then
Oh, Yep,
some.
hang on 1 second now.
I'll try to speak quietly.
Why is it not mirroring?
Did you not mirror it?
I did.
It's the beginning of the year. Give us a break. It's like,
We had 3 years of doing this.
Now just make her big.
She's in the corner.
Okay, Tess.
Can I just do this? Go ahead, Tess.
Oh, you just not.
Great.
What's
You
it?
can see my presentation?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
All right.
needs
Wonderful.
to be
Well,
online.
good evening, all school committee members. It's great to see many of you again. I can't see you, so later on in questions, please just say your name if you do have any. But as Jay said, really excited to be here to give you a brief overview of our special education opportunity review, especially because it is so aligned, I think, with the strategic planning work that we've done over the past year. And as Jay said, this really came out as a need based on our initial needs assessment last winter, seeing that achievement gap between students in general education versus receiving special education supports, and just how much bigger that gap was in Chelmsford compared to the state. So you already know about district management group a bit, but I think important to ground again just in our mission, which really comes out not only in our strategic planning work, but also with special education, around combining education and management techniques. And I think that is just so true with special education as we think, of course, about educational best practices in special education, but then also the management of the resources, because we know a big portion of all of district resources, of course, rightfully so, goes towards supporting special education. And so through all of our work, focus on student outcomes, strategic resource allocation, and operational efficiency. You are part of this list of all of our partners, but I think what really for our special education work is helpful. Of course, there are different laws across different states, but really being able to learn from other districts across the country how they support students with disabilities has really helped us refine our craft in how we work with districts. So I'll quickly go through just our philosophy when it comes to special education opportunity reviews, as Jay said. So first and foremost, we truly believe that districts can raise student achievement for students with IEPs and manage resources at the same time, so time, people, and money. In order to do this, we believe there's three what seem simple questions, but sometimes difficult to answer, to explore. And so in order to raise those outcomes, we believe districts need better information, a deep understanding of best practices, which are always changing, and clear staffing guidelines. And so three questions really guide our work. One, just what do staff currently do? Two, what should staff do? And three, how should staff implement best practices? Through all of that, we really believe general education is a big part of the answer. Of course, students with disabilities are still receiving that Tier 1 instruction. We believe that culture and context matter. And so we, of course, have a deep understanding of culture and context in Chelmsford, which we're excited to bring. And then lastly, of course, no student ever benefited just from a report or PowerPoint. And so wanting to recognize that really sustained systemic efforts can take years, and that's okay. And so as we go through this work, we identify opportunities. We recognize some things may take 1 year to implement, others may take 3, and that's okay. So with our philosophy, our overall project goals are, one, to develop a deep understanding of current practice as it relates to special education and intervention, since that is so tied up. Two, to then explore the alignment of current practice to best practice research on student achievement for students with disabilities. And then lastly, in taking both of those things, identify a short list, I will say, of opportunities to align staff practices with best practices while effectively managing staffing so that change is successful both for students but for staff as well. So these are all of our proposed project goals as we work with districts. The way that we do that is through a 5-step process. So one, just creating that momentum for change, which I think really has already started because of the strategic planning work and the priorities that you all have developed and measurable goals. This is very aligned to the equity priority and just looking at that achievement gap. We'll do a deeper analysis of that current practice in a few ways, benchmark to best practice, set some recommendations, align to those, and then culminate in a planning retreat so that the district can prioritize what do we want to do to improve student outcomes for students with IEPs. So the actual timeline and process, we typically do a kickoff for about 2 months, which would include assembling a guiding coalition. We really want to align this, of course, to the strategic planning work. And so we'll think really strategically about the folks that have been involved in that, especially around the priority area related to this achievement gap in special education, so that we're all rowing in one direction. We will gather data and share some best practices on special education, and then we'll also gather some qualitative data on your current approach, so through focus groups, interviews, etc. Then we'll move into the actual analysis phase. I'll talk about a tool we have to support us to understand how staff use their time through schedule sharing. We'll do that diagnostic needs assessment, analyze staffing data, and develop some of those key findings. So we'll gather all of that into our report and share those over the course of a month or two back to district leaders, back to all of you, and then work with the guiding coalition to be able to identify next steps. Throughout all of this, communication and engagement, of course, is so important. I will say, I know Maria and Jeff, if you're there, you, of course, have been part of the steering committee. In this work, it's just a bit less, I would say, on district leaders or the steering committee to actually do the work. We do a lot more of the work in this situation, developing the findings. Of course, we're synthesizing everything, but just in terms of commitment, that is slightly different. So what our diagnostic includes is both qualitative and quantitative, similar to the broad needs assessment we did in strategic planning. So for qualitative, we'll do interviews with district leaders and some select staff, focus groups. We can do a survey if that is easier to gather staff perspective. We often do some classroom observations too, COVID pending. And then we'll also combine that with some more quantitative data analysis that you can see there on the right, answering some really key questions around service delivery models, time spent with students every week, etc., and combining those together to, again, provide those highest leverage opportunities. You've probably heard me say this before, but a short list is better than a long list, so we won't give you 55 things to do to improve in special education, but probably 4 to 6. And one of the specific pieces I want to dive into for our methodology, I talked about this staff schedule sharing. We've developed a software with the whole goal to really understand how are staff spending their time, those who support students in special education. It's very different, of course, than general education teachers who have a set schedule every day, and time is just such a big resource in supporting students with IEPs. And so we have a tool, it kind of looks like Google Calendar. For 1 week, we have some practitioners, so special education teachers, paraprofessionals, related services staff, actually enter their schedule for the week, and then we can very easily analyze those schedules, highlight trends, and compare to best practice. So I'm going to show you just a couple of examples of information that we get from this tool. So what you're looking at here is the role of a paraprofessional and their work over the course of the week. So you can see all of their activities that we gathered on the left that we pre-populate based in collaboration with the district, the types of support they provide. You can see those tops are academic support. Then we have total direct service to students and any other activities they're doing. And we've broken it down by the time they're spending with students with mild learning disabilities compared to students with more severe needs. And so something I want to highlight here is that just in this example district, we found that many paraprofessionals were spending more than half of their time providing academic support. And this is not what the district actually expected. They thought they were doing more behavior support or kind of just keeping students on track. But in this district, they actually were doing a bit more direct instruction that was gleaned, that insight from schedule sharing. So again, just understanding how time is spent to see, is this what we expect, or would we expect to see something different? This is another example from speech language therapists. So over the course of a week, this is a much larger district than you all, but we'll get similar insights. Each bar here represents a speech and language clinician and the average number of hours they spend on therapy per week with students. You can see here the average time is about 16 hours. But really what I want to call out is some clinicians, are spending more than 20 hours a week providing therapy to students, while others are spending 10. And so in this district, we had a conversation around, okay, what are the actual guidelines for SLPs and how much time they should be spending with students? Because right now it's very, of course, different across pathologists. And also had the conversation around, okay, what else is on SLP's plates that is inhibiting them from being able to work with students, which likely is why they got into the profession in the first place. And so this information is just allows us to have much more targeted conversations around how to best use time to support students. So once we have all of that, the last step again is that prioritization workshop and really thinking from the opportunities that we provide, what would this mean for students? What would this mean for staff? And we always think about impact and feasibility of opportunities as districts prioritize to make that change. So that is just overall our process again to how we approach opportunity reviews in special education, ultimately to improve outcomes for students, support staff, and use resources well. So let me pause just for any questions. Jay, feel free to add anything ahead of that.
No, we'll just open it up for questions. And yes, Tess, you can only see me, so I'll facilitate the questions coming if you can't hear them. But our full school committee is here. We have our student reps from Chelmsford High School here tonight, and then Linda and Joanna. So we've got a full house. But any committee, Dawn, it's up to you. Any committee questions?
Any committee questions? I actually have two tests. The first one is, will you also be taking a look at our substantially separate programs?
Yes, we do take a look at substantially separate programs by doing focus groups with staff, classroom observations, and then they typically participate in schedule sharing as well.
Great, thank you. And then for people who may be watching this, could you explain how what you're doing is different than, say, what the state comes in and does, like around a coordinator review or audit?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say based on what the state typically does, they are more focused on compliance, where we are more focused on, okay, of the resources you have, what are all the different ways that you can utilize those resources really to impact student achievement? So it's much less, we are not focused on compliance. That is, of course, a big piece of special education, but we're really looking for the highest impact, both educational best practices as well as management best practices to get outcomes for students.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, of course, yes.
How, can you explain a little more or go into a little more detail on how this aligns with and enhances what's going on with strategic planning at this time?
Yes, I believe that was Maria. Great.
That's me.
I recognize your voice now.
Oh, boy.
Great question, Maria. So yes, as many of you probably know or remember, one of the strategic priorities that was identified is around equity. And one of the ways that you all are going to measure that priority is looking at the achievement gap between students in general education versus students with disabilities. And the reason that was identified is we saw that students with disabilities, the achievement gap was much bigger in Chelmsford when compared to the state. And so that's what started this conversation, is looking at, okay, how are students with disabilities supported in Chelmsford? What are the service delivery models? And so by diving in deeper here, identifying some of those high impact opportunities to support students with disabilities, we hope to see that achievement gap narrow between students with disabilities and those in general education.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Great. Tess, I think that was all the questions. But we very much appreciate you sharing that with us tonight, and I will follow up with you the next time we meet. But I think it's going to be some good work. It's going to really fill in a lot of the analysis piece that we need as we roll into the strategic planning work. So, thank you for joining us this afternoon, and we'll be back in touch.
Great.
All right, thank you.
See you all. Thanks.
Thank you.
You too.
Good
Bye-bye.
night. Thank you.
Associated with this, what is the cost of this work gonna be, and is this something we can use ESSER funds for, or?
It is. So I'll be finalizing the proposal, and I'll gladly share that with you, with the group when we receive that. But it is something that, let me just shut my thing off here. Okay, I'll just have to be careful. It is something that we can use ESSER funding, and potentially even some of our other special education funding. So it would be a grant-funded endeavor, one way or the other. It wouldn't be local funded.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
But I will certainly email you the project cost, the proposal, and we'll figure out which funding source best aligns, but it will be grant-funded.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, no, I think it's well worth it. I think the methodology is really solid, and just the way that they, having worked with them through the strategic planning process, we got very good feedback from staff who participated in the focus groups, even the parents who participated in surveys and whatnot. And this is a pretty captive audience, so I think we'll be able to get some very direct input. And, you know, it'll certainly help us. Certainly with the equity piece on the strategic plan, but even practically, when we talk about like middle school implementation of the reconfiguration and the reorganization, I think we'll get some good data around here, just with respect to like how our staff are actually being currently utilized, and, you know, again, best practice, and how can we use them most effectively, really serving our kids. So yes, I'll finalize the proposal, I'll send you a copy. It will be grant funded, we'll figure out which grant best aligns, and I'll let you know that at the same time.
I just wanted to say, the reason I asked that question, to get a little more input on it, is because having participated in the strategic planning part, I honestly think that in order to be able to accomplish the next part of the strategic plan, this data and this information is absolutely crucial. Whether we use this group or some other group and so on, I would say go with this group only because we've been working with them, if the proposal is something we can handle. But I think personally that it's next to impossible to do the next part without this.
I agree. Any other comments or questions regarding this special education review? All right, thank you.
All right, and just, one last thing. The timing actually lines up well too, because we'll be doing work on the implementation phase really between now and the holidays. And they already know the district, they know the programming, so they were able to kind of jump right into that first time period, which is usually a month or two. We already have things set up, so we'll be able to get some of these recommendations right, again, going into and right after the holidays, so it can inform our budgeting process for next year and a lot of that realignment work. So just timing-wise, it lines up well.
Okay.
Thank you. That was the second item on the agenda this evening. The third item was actually a mistake on my part for including it on the agenda. I guess I got a little excited and I got ahead of myself. The first financial quarter hasn't closed yet. So we usually do that report the second meeting in October because it covers July, August, and September. So that was a mistake. So there is no item number 3. There was nothing missing in your packet. And we'll move on to item number 4, which is just some recommended budget transfers in the current year fiscal '23, and I'll ask Joanna to walk us through those.
Thank you. So there are 3 budget transfer memos in your packet tonight. One is about a local budget item for capital projects. A second is for the cost of living increases for a few of the groups. And the third is the salary lane changes that 16 employees achieved at the beginning of this school year. So the first one, when we built the fiscal '23 budget, we did not put a line item in for local capital projects. So this is talking about 3 projects that were local capital last year as part of our one-time money. And as we were doing the projects over the summer, a few improvements were made. The timing was right to just add these items on. And the funding would come from, not sure if you recall, the employee separation cost is going to be favorable this year. This is when an employee retires and they got the 25% incentive, because last year You approved that we could pay those in June instead of July, so we have some favorable variances right out the gate in '23. So the main one that, of this $29,795 was for more bookcases in the Learning Commons. That was the big chunk of this fund, close to $22,000. The second is the stadium lights were a little bit more to install, less than $2,000. And the center school playground, we poured a little more rubber underneath one of the play areas, and that was around $5,000. So this budget transfer is asking for $29,795 to this local capital account that we did not include initially in the '23 budget.
I'll take a motion.
I move that the school committee approve the FY 2023 local operating transfers of $29,795 from the operating budget to the Chelmsford Public Schools as presented.
Is there any discussion? All right, this is a roll call vote. Dennis?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
John? Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. The next one is the cost of living increases that were approved or negotiated in fiscal '23. So in the '23 operating budget, we had one line item for like 1.3 million for all of the cost of living salary increases that would take place in fiscal '23. Three of the areas have settled or been approved here, and employees have received the increase in their pay, starting with the fiscal year or the beginning of the school year. The first one is the largest one, and that's all the teachers. And that, this is taking funds from that one line item that says salary reserve COLA and putting the funds into the labor accounts where the teacher's labor is charged. So that budget transfer is $1,027,314. We can take these one at a time, or I can talk about all three, and whichever one you're more comfortable with.
I'll still one at a time. I'll take a motion, please.
I move that the school committee vote to approve the FY 2023 local operating budget transfers of $1,027,314 from the salary reserve COLA account to the various labor accounts as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All right, again, roll call vote. Dennis?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, the second one is for the cost of living increase that was in the CAA contract that settled. And this one is for $88,227, again, from the one salary reserve COLA account into the different labor accounts where these administrators, primarily the coordinators, the deans, athletic directors, where their actual labor is charged. And I think, Dennis, you wanted to bring up, I had a...
Yeah, just a correction to the memo is that the negotiated increase was a 2% cost of living, and it has a 2.5 on the thing. So just to, for the record.
Yep, thank you.
The numbers as presented are correct. It was just the narrative, so the motion still stands.
I move that the school committee vote to approve the FY 2023 local operating budget transfer of $88,227 from the salary reserve COLA account to the various labor accounts as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Dennis, thank you for catching that. And so that, just to reiterate, it was 2.0.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Any questions? All right, Dennis?
Right?
Jeff?
Aye.
John? Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Thank you. The third one is for the non-affiliated employees. So this is a budget transfer of $5,932. At the June 21st, 2022 school committee meeting, this body approved the 2.5% cost of living salary increase for non-affiliated employees, similar to what the teachers received. In the operating budget, we had in the line items had a 2%. So this $5,932 is to make up that 0.5% for this set of employees into these labor accounts.
I move that the school committee approve the FY 2023 local operating budget transfer of $5,932 from the salary reserve COLA account to the various labor accounts as presented.
Second.
Are there any questions? Dennis?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Thank you, Joanna.
Thank you. Oh, I do. Forgot, lane changes. Thank you.
Get so anxious there.
Okay. In the fiscal '23 operating budget, we had one line item for $106,657 in anticipation for a group of teachers who were working to achieve a higher degree, bachelor's to master's, master's to master's plus 30, that kind of thing. 16 teachers successfully achieved their goal, totaling $86,010, and they received their lane change increase in their first paycheck. So this budget transfer is taking the funds out of that one line item and putting it into that labor account where that teacher's labor is charged.
Take a motion?
I move that the school committee approve the FY 2023 local operating budget transfer of $86,010 from the salary reserve lane change account to the various labor accounts as presented.
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion?
A question for Linda is just, do we know where's most of the movement from? Bachelor's to master's, master's to master's, 30, what is?
It's usually bachelor's to master's,
Okay.
right? And then we have a few people that are trying to get the master's plus 30 as they go along, but most people are trying to finish up their certification
Right.
and move to
That's why the question, so most of them are just trying to,
professional teaching license.
great.
Any other questions? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
There you go. Thank you. Next item on the agenda this evening, item 5, is just the personnel report for the month of August. And this is a lengthy one. And this, again, is just a monthly report I provide that comes from our HR office that just details the new hiring that took place in the district, all of our new hires, any resignations, retirements, and at the very end, we have some people that will shift from positions within the district. So it also details the assignment shifts within the district. So again, just sharing that with you is kind of a running document to help show some of the work that's taking place hiring in the district. The July and August and September ones are typically the heavy ones over the course of the year. But I shout out to the HR office. They have done a very nice job of onboarding and getting these people coordinated so that Joanna can pay them on the payroll. Again, a lot of activity now. Things seem to be quieting down a little bit, but it was a very busy month getting all these people onboarded and into the district. So happy to answer any questions. Just provide this again as a report just to document for you the HR transactions.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
With all these new hires, like, what's our orientation program like, or how do they, on different levels, like paras versus teachers, they come in for 2, 3, 4, how does it work for?
Sure. I mean, so there's a couple of things. Let me give you a quick overview, and then you can get into it a little deeper if you want to. Timing is an issue, right? So if we have a new staff member who we hire like in the spring, right up through the start of the school year, the week before school starts, we actually do have new teacher orientation. So new teachers would come for like 3 days of full orientation where they learn about the district, they meet with the department coordinators, school staff, learn about the teacher evaluation system, get all of their credentials and whatnot for our systems. That's the most orderly way of kind of onboarding our new teachers. It does happen, though, over the course of a year where we have to hire someone after that training. So that's where we really rely heavily on our mentors in the district. And the mentor teachers would really kind kind of on a one-off basis, work with new people who come in after the fact, because obviously if they're in the classroom, we can't pull them out for like a 3-day orientation. So that's why we really do start the hiring process early in March and April. We want to get those people committed so that they can go through orientation. But it does happen that we have to hire after those 3 days. So that's when it's done more one-off. That's how typically the professional teaching staff come into the district. Administrators don't have an induction program like that. They are provided a mentor if they're new, and that mentor would kind of show them the ropes in the district. Paraprofessionals at this point do not have a structured orientation program like that. Their learning is more in the job with either other paras or the teachers that are directly kind of supporting and guiding them. Did I miss anything?
I was gonna say, I really don't need to have anything to add to that.
Great. I just wondered how to work, yeah, okay, great.
Timing's an issue.
Yep.
Timing is kind of key.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Last item I have for you this evening is just an approval of just one field trip request, travel request. And this is for certain members of the CHS band to attend a band clinic in Seattle from November 18th to 22nd. Again, we don't quite know who the people are yet because they're still doing their auditions and whatnot because it's the start of school. But this sounds like a good opportunity for students who are selected and who are interested in attending. So we seek that approval from you this evening.
I move that the school committee approve the field trip of the Chelmsford High School Chelmsford High School band members to the Western International Band Clinic in Seattle, Washington, from November 18th to the 22nd, 2022.
Second.
Anybody any questions, discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. All right, thank you. All right, next up is liaison reports. Does anybody have any reports that they would like to give? Maria?
Did attend the meeting. It was the Harrington PTO on the 8th of September. They had quite a few folks in attendance, which was absolutely wonderful to see. It was both in person and through a meet, and quite a few people took advantage of the virtual, being online. Their one big event that's coming up is October 22nd, the Battle of the Booths, including the trunk or treat and so on. That's going to be coming up. They discussed many other things that they're going to do throughout the year, including several days to appreciate different members of the staff and so on by groupings. And they seem to be really organized and getting going here. It's great.
Anybody else?
I hit Center School, first of all, had an opportunity to attend the Center School playground opening. Donna's there, Jeff, Superintendent Lang, Superintendent Hirsch were there. Great to see the new playground at work, and the kids seem to be loving it, enjoying them time, and there's some landscaping work to do, but it's definitely an improvement from what it was before. And then last week, Center School had their first PTO meeting, and again, the attendance was fabulous. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was barely a seat, and it was on, all those people online. They have, I think, 2 offices for every position, which is terrific. They have a lot of fundraising and social events scheduled. Some of them include the ice cream social on the 6th of October. They have their trunk or treat on the 22nd of October, and they're going to do their annual recycle day along with McCarthy PTO on the 5th of November. Okay, so those things are coming up. CHIPS will have their first PTO meeting on the 19th of October. They're going to try to do it in person at Westland School. And then CPAC is their first meeting scheduled for the 6th. And they're going to do that virtually.
Great, thank you.
So I had Parker Middle School, which was great. Again, first meeting, huge attendance. Everybody was there. As Dennis mentioned, on the 5th, they're doing the recycling project, and they have a couple other dates I'm just waiting to get back on. But yeah, it was awesome attendance. My wife was there, so I got to chat with my wife. It was fun. So we actually in the same place at the same time, kinda. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and then I have BIAM coming up in the next week or so.
Yes, McCarthy is this week, on Thursday.
By the Alumni Association, as George mentioned, the Hall of Fame coming up And again, Terry McSheehy for 22 years has done an incredible job as president, and he's a close friend, so it's just amazing what the two of them have done, because there aren't many high schools that have an alumni association. And those two gentlemen, along with the board and members along the years, have just done an incredible job. So I shout out again to Terry for all the time and effort he's put in.
Great, thank you.
One of the things that was really nice about the Alumni Association, and if, I wish I had remembered to say this when they were here, was that they also provided funding for some of the student programming last year at the high school. They were part of the funding for some of it, and that is tremendous, because not many high schools ever do that.
Thank you. So I attended the South Row PTO meeting on September 12th, and also, same thing, great turnout. And they did a really interesting thing where they had all of the activities they have throughout the year. They kind of stationed around the cafeteria so that parents could come in and just go from station to station and sign up to volunteer or just learn more about the events that they have. They'll be having their ice cream social on September 27th with a rain date of September 29th. Chelmsford Friends of Music held their meeting on September 7th. They won't be doing monthly meetings, but they will be posting, and one of the best places to check is on Facebook on their page to find out when the next upcoming meeting will be. The second Saturday is typically their bottle and can drive, so if you have bottles and cans and want to drop them off, feel free. It's a great fundraiser for them. And then finally, the Council of Schools will be meeting on October 13th. I'll probably mention again before then, but just so people can get it on their calendars now. All right, does anybody have any new action items or new items that they would like to add to an upcoming agenda?
Just, I'd like to suggest that maybe one of the items on the agenda pretty soon should be some type of report, if we can get it, on what positions remain open in the system, and how we're doing on attracting people and so on for those positions, if we can, some HR type of report.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I know everybody was eagerly awaiting it, but we did get our delegate
Oh,
name with
yes,
our
yes.
resolution, so I guess at one of the next meetings.
Next
we'll have
meeting,
to
yes.
Take a vote on the resolutions with the conference coming up.
We can vote on the resolutions. One of the things we also have to think about too is I believe the annual meeting is on that Wednesday.
Yep.
So I don't know who's scheduled to go at that particular time, but it really should be someone who's going to be there.
I'll be there.
Because I won't be going till later on. Dennis, I don't know.
I think I might be going on Wednesday. I
Okay.
think I'll take a half day of the day, but, so. Yeah,
Wednesday's the first day, right?
Yes.
Wednesday's the
I'm
first
going
day.
the first day too.
It's
so-
Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they moved it. It used to be the delegate thing was at the end. Now they pushed it at the beginning for some reason.
You have two options.
Yes. All right, great. Thank you. We'll make sure we put those resolutions on for the next meeting. Anybody else? I just have a list of about 20. So I know we have, had mentioned that the MSBA will be coming out for a site visit at some point, so maybe to get an update on that after that happens.
Sure, yeah, they're actually coming out Wednesday, October 5th in the afternoon, and what they call it is a senior study. So when we submitted our application, do you want me to give
Oh,
an
go right ahead.
explanation?
Yeah, sure.
So when we submitted our application for the SBA, one of the first things that they need to do as part of their due diligence process is obviously come out and take a look at the facilities. So we had flagged the Parker Middle School as our priority project. So we're going to come and meet at Parker, but I did talk to the MSBA individual who's handling our review. And we're also going to do a walkthrough of McCarthy because both projects were somewhat interconnected, particularly where we're doing the reorg of the middle schools and the grade levels. They're going to have an impact on each other. So this is just the first step in the process because they have not physically come to Parker or McCarthy previously. So I sent them a number of documents related to the original facilities review that we did so that they would have information on like the structures and the mechanicals and whatnot. And then I sent them the updated results that we had back in '21 when Dora Whittier came back out to do the reassessment in that process. So they have those documents. And again, first step in the process, but it's good that we've gotten vetted into the first step to have that conversation with them to talk a little bit about our hopes for the next coming years. So it's Wednesday, October 5th. It's a small meeting. It's a working meeting with just some facilities folks, one rep from the school and a group from the MSBA. But I'll let you know how it goes after that meeting.
It's encouraging, though, looking at McCarthy too, though. So A
Yeah,
little
I
bit
think
more broad than.
they definitely want to understand, you know,
Yeah.
because there are only two middle schools in town.
Yeah.
And I think both applications kind of, you know, feed off each other, or ever, if there were a new middle school and it was a 3-grade level school, whichever way it went, it's going to impact the other building, and then how potentially that building would be used. So they want to just wrap their head around it. I think it's obviously a good sign that they want to take that step to hear about it. You know, I don't know what'll happen, you know, funding-wise, long-term with this. There is a big issue going on with the state right now with the projects that they have committed to. They're all coming in over budget. So there is a pretty big gap between the awards that the MSBA had originally made, and then now that these projects have gone out to bid and the construction estimates have come in, there's a delta. So there's some talk about should they petition the state for additional funding to be able to kind of clear that backload and fund all the projects properly? If not, should they basically take a year off and utilize a particular fiscal year's funding to properly fund those projects, which would just delay everything another year? I don't know where it'll go, but obviously if it's of interest to me, so I'll keep my eyes on it and let you know what I hear.
The next thing was, I know you had a chance to meet with, and this was a carryover actually from last year, Christine Clancy, to talk about some of the safety updates. So if we could just get a report on that maybe sometime down the road.
Yep.
Or you can do it now.
Well, no, real quickly, I can just tell you, well, I did tour a couple of the schools with Christine to just kind of get a sense for the building layouts themselves. We've talked a little bit, and I actually, I think it's gonna be the next meeting. I do have a proposal, which I like to have a group come in and work with us on kind of a facility safety review. It'll take a look, we talked about like kind of the hard structures themselves. It'll also take a look at our emergency planning, our documents, our protocols, our responses. Come in and actually take a look at some of the drills that we do to give us some feedback on those. So that one is tentatively queued up right now for the next meeting in October. But we did just take a walk with Christine, just so she could kind of see some of the buildings. We're going to have a follow-up discussion with the building commissioner, just to make sure our thoughts and processes that we might be looking at are in line with building code and whatnot. And we'll obviously involve this third party who would be doing the review. We'd want their eyes on the buildings as well to take a look at their recommendations. But we already have some internal ideas we're kicking around to present to the group that we think would be operational for us. So we'll be curious to hear their feedback, but you'll be getting something on that too.
Great. Next, if we could get an update on the Essa funds at some point, just kind of where we stand with everything. Also, we have Spotlight on Schools starting soon, right?
Correct. I'll actually give you the schedule because we had an admin meeting this afternoon and we planned out the year for all the different schools and all the different departments. So they're starting in October and I'll provide that schedule to you at the next meeting.
Great. And then for Dennis and Maria on the policy subcommittee, I know you've begun work on that, but if we could get an update maybe in the next meeting or the meeting after that, just where things stand? Yep. Okay. And also, I know that the middle school reconfiguration is going to be like a year-long process, but if we could just get periodic updates, you know, in terms of how things are going and, you know, any action that we may need to take or support that we need to offer, that would be great.
I'm actually I will map out kind of a plan for that, just so that you know. I'm not really starting that work until after Columbus Day. We're just taking the first, 4 or 5 weeks of school to just kind of everything up and running.
Right.
But I'll map out for you kind of how that'll all roll out over the course of the year. But I haven't even internally started planning on that until after Columbus Day.
Right, thank you. And then the last thing is, can we update the liaison assignments on the website?
Yeah, they're not right?
No, I think it was last year's. I don't think we have this year's up there.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you. And that's everything I have. Anything else?
Just one quick, on
Yes,
the
sir.
website or in the Dropbox?
In the website.
On the website. Yep, I'll look at that tomorrow.
All right. Do we have anybody here for our second public comment session? No? Oh, okay. Wasn't sure. All right, then, given that there are no other items, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we vote to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.